Ladies and gentlemen, let me talk to you for a moment, because what I'm about to say isn't about games, tricks, or manipulation. This is about understanding value. See, when a man truly misses a woman, it's not because she chased him, begged him, or made herself smaller to keep him comfortable. No. A man cries missing you when he realizes he lost access to something rare. Here's the truth. Men don't miss what they can easily replace. We miss what we felt safe with. We miss peace. We miss respect. We miss a woman who knew who she was even when we didn't know how to act. You want to make a man miss you. Stop trying to convince him of your worth. Live it. When you stop over-explaining, stop over-giving, and stop overstaying, where you're not fully appreciated, something happens in a man's mind. Silence gets loud. Your absence starts talking. A man does not miss noise, arguments, or emotional chaos. What he misses, what truly settles into his chest late at night, is peace. Men are wired to escape pressure. The world already demands from them every single day to perform, to provide, to prove, to endure. When a woman becomes another source of tension instead of relief, a man slowly disconnects, not because he doesn't care, but because survival tells him to pull away. But when a woman brings peace, she becomes irreplaceable. Peace is not silence. Peace is emotional safety. It is knowing he can come to you without being judged, attacked, or made to feel small. It is feeling respected even when he makes mistakes. A man may not always say it out loud, but he is constantly asking himself one question: do I feel safe being myself here? When the answer is yes, he stays longer, tries harder, and invests deeper. When the answer becomes no, his heart starts packing its bags long before his body leaves. A peaceful woman does not compete with a man's ego. She understands it. She knows when to speak and when to let silence do the work. She doesn't weaponize emotions, threaten love, or use tears as control. Instead, she offers understanding without losing herself. That balance is rare, and rare things are remembered. When a man loses a woman who gave him peace, that loss doesn't hit immediately. At first, he feels free. The tension is gone. The conversations have stopped. But then life happens. He has a bad day. He fails at something. He feels unsure, tired, or overwhelmed. And suddenly, there's no calm place to land. No voice that reassures without nagging. No presence that softens the world. That's when he realizes what he lost. Men don't cry over arguments they escaped. They cry over peace they can't replace. They cry when they discover that other women may be exciting, attractive, or fun, but they are not safe. They don't listen the same. They don't understand the same. They don't bring calm to the storm the way you did. Peace creates emotional dependence, not in a weak way, but in a human way. When you were his peace, you became his emotional home. And once a man loses his home, every place he goes after that feels temporary. That's when missing you turns into regret. Absence is not punishment, and it is not a tactic. Absence is truth. When you remove yourself from a man's life without drama, without begging, and without trying to prove a point, you create space, and space forces reflection. As long as you are present, available, and emotionally accessible, a man never fully measures your value. Familiarity makes people careless. Consistency without boundaries teaches others that your presence is guaranteed. And when something feels guaranteed, it stops being cherished. When you are no longer there, the noise stops. The good morning messages disappear. The check-ins fade. The emotional labor you once carried is suddenly missing. At first, he may not feel loss. He feels relief. But relief is temporary. What follows is awareness. He starts noticing the small things, the way you listened without interrupting, the way you remembered details he forgot about himself, the way you made life easier just by being in it. Absence turns invisible effort into visible impact. A man does not recognize value through explanation. He recognizes it through experience. When you step away, he experiences the difference between life with you and life without you. He realizes how much emotional weight you were carrying quietly, How many moments you smoothed over. How often you chose understanding instead of conflict. Your absence removes the cushion he never knew he was leaning on. Silence has a way of speaking louder than words. When you stop reaching out, stop reacting, stop asking for clarity, the unanswered questions begin to echo in his mind. He wonders why you didn't fight harder, why you didn't chase, why you walked away with calm instead of chaos. That mystery unsettles him because it signals strength. It tells him you knew your worth and chose peace over attachment. Absence also strips away illusion. While you were there, he assumed you would always be there. When you leave, he confronts the reality that he was not irreplaceable, and neither were his chances. The moment he sees you moving forward, emotionally stable, not bitter, not broken, something shifts. Your absence becomes evidence of your value, not your weakness. Men miss what they cannot access. When you are no longer emotionally available, when your energy is no longer on standby, he begins to feel the loss deeply. Not because you vanished, but because you left him with the truth of what he failed to protect. Absence doesn't create value, it reveals it. Chasing a man never makes him value you more. It only convinces him that he can relax while you do the work. When you are always the one calling, explaining, adjusting, and forgiving, a man learns that your love is unconditional, but not in a healthy way. He learns that no matter how little effort he gives, you will compensate. Over time, this shifts the balance. Attraction fades where effort is one-sided. Respect weakens when boundaries are absent. Choosing yourself is not selfish, it is self-preservation. It means recognizing when you are pouring into someone who is only sipping. It means understanding that love should not feel like constant proving, waiting, or shrinking. When you stop chasing, something powerful happens. You stop sending the message that you are afraid to lose him. And fear, more than anything, erodes desire. Men are drawn to women who have a life, a direction, and standards that do not bend out of loneliness. When you choose yourself, you stop centering your happiness around his responses, moods, or availability. You become less predictable not because you are playing games, but because you are no longer living on standby. That independence shifts the dynamic. A man begins to feel that being with you is a privilege, not a guarantee. When you step back, you give him room to step forward or reveal that he never intended to. Either outcome is clarity. If he values you, he will feel the distance and move toward you with intention. If he doesn't, his silence confirms what your effort was trying to deny. Choosing yourself saves you from chasing potential instead of reality. There's also power in emotional restraint. When you stop over-explaining your feelings and stop asking for reassurance, you communicate confidence. A woman who trusts herself does not beg to be chosen. She observes behavior, makes decisions, and moves accordingly. That quiet confidence stays in a man's mind long after the conversation ends. A man misses a woman most when he realizes she didn't lose him, she released him. When he understands that you walked away not because you were weak, but because you were strong enough to choose peace, self-respect, and growth. That realization hurts because it tells him he didn't just lose a relationship, he lost access to a woman who knew her worth and acted on it. Dignity is quiet. And that is exactly why it leaves such a deep mark. When a woman maintains her dignity, she does not argue for love, compete for attention, or beg for clarity. She does not explode, expose, or embarrass herself trying to be understood. Instead, she moves with self-respect. And that restraint speaks louder than any emotional outburst ever could. A man may forget harsh words, but he never forgets the woman who walked away with grace. Most people expect drama when a connection ends. They expect tears, anger, long messages, and emotional chaos. When a woman refuses to give that, it unsettles a man. He starts replaying moments, searching for signs he missed, wondering why she didn't fight harder or break down. Dignity creates unanswered questions. And unanswered questions stay in the mind longer than answers ever do. A dignified woman does not seek revenge or validation. She doesn't try to prove that she mattered by forcing reactions. She lets her absence do the talking. That level of emotional control is rare, and rarity creates value. A man begins to realize that she wasn't dependent on him for identity or happiness. She chose him, but she didn't need him to survive. That realization shifts how he sees her long after she's gone. Dignity also protects memory. When a woman leaves without insults, public exposure, or bitterness, the memories remain clean. There is no emotional mess to hide behind. The man can't justify his behavior by telling himself she was too much or crazy. He is left with the uncomfortable truth. She was kind, composed, and respectful, and he still failed to rise to the occasion. That truth is heavy. Walking away with dignity also preserves self-worth. It says, without words, I know what I bring and I refuse to diminish myself for anyone. Men respect strength, even when they don't deserve it. And that respect often arrives too late. When he sees you later, calm, confident, unchanged in your values, he understands that your character was not situational. It was real. A woman's dignity becomes a mirror, forces a man to confront his own actions, his own effort, and his own loss. And that reflection is what stays with him, not the arguments, not the tears, but the quiet power of a woman who knew when to leave and did so without losing herself. Growth after goodbye is what turns separation into regret. When a woman stays stuck, broken, or visibly weighing, a man may feel relief or even reassurance that he was the center of her world. But when she grows emotionally, mentally, spiritually, something shifts inside him. He realizes that she didn't fall apart without him, she evolved. And that evolution forces him to reevaluate his place in her story. At first, a man may assume that once you're gone, life will slow down for you. He expects sadness, silence, or signs that you are still emotionally attached. But when he sees you focused, glowing, and moving forward with purpose, it unsettles him. Growth contradicts his expectations. It tells him that you were not dependent on the relationship to thrive. You were capable all along. Growth shows up in subtle ways. Your energy changes. Your boundaries are stronger. Your presence is calmer. You no longer react the way you used to. You listen more and explain less. That emotional maturity becomes obvious even from a distance. And distance gives him time to compare who you were then and who you are now. That comparison is painful when he realizes the version of you he lost is even more powerful than the one he had. Regret doesn't come from loss alone, it comes from missed potential. When a man sees you stepping into your best self, he understands that he had access to that growth, that partnership, that future, and he didn't protect it. He didn't invest when it mattered. Growth becomes a silent reminder of what he could have built with you if he had shown up differently. There's also something deeply humbling about seeing someone succeed without resentment. When you grow without trying to prove a point, without posting indirect messages, without seeking validation, your progress feels authentic. That authenticity hits harder than any dramatic display ever could. It tells him that your happiness is real and no longer connected to him. A man can replace presence, but he cannot replace progression. When he sees you evolving, becoming more aligned, more confident, more fulfilled, regret takes root. Because growth after goodbye doesn't just say, I'm fine without you. It says, I became better, and you no longer have access to this version of me. Self-worth is not loud, and it does not demand attention, but it lingers. When a woman truly knows her worth, she moves differently. She doesn't overstay where she is uncertain. She doesn't tolerate mixed signals or inconsistent effort. And she doesn't attach her value to how deeply a man chooses her. That kind of self-worth creates a presence that stays with a man long after she's gone, because it was never dependent on him to begin with. A woman with self-worth loves fully, but she never abandons herself to be loved. She gives, but she does not drain herself dry. She listens, but she does not silence her own needs. Men sense this balance, even if they don't consciously understand it. It creates respect. And respect is the foundation of lasting memory. Passion may fade, attraction may fluctuate, but respect stays lodged in the mind. When a man loses a woman who valued herself, he cannot rewrite the story in his favor. He can't say she stayed too long, begged too much, or lost herself. Her behavior gave him no excuse. She showed up with honesty, boundaries, and emotional maturity. That clarity becomes haunting because it removes denial. He knows exactly where he fell short. Memories tied to self-worth feel different. They're not chaotic or confusing. They are clean, grounded, and emotionally secure. He remembers how you didn't argue to be understood. You spoke once, clearly. He remembers how you didn't threaten to leave. You simply left when the behavior didn't match the words. Those moments replay because they were powerful in their simplicity. Self-worth also creates contrast. Every relationship he enters after you becomes a comparison. He notices when boundaries are missing, when respect is inconsistent, when emotional stability feels off. That's when your memory resurfaces, not as nostalgia, but as realization. He understands that what you offered was rare, and rarity is unforgettable. A woman's self-worth doesn't beg to be remembered. It embeds itself through consistency, clarity, and calm strength. And once a man experiences that level of grounded love, he doesn't forget it. Because self-worth doesn't just shape how you love, it shapes how you are remembered.